Today, we are building a time machine with vibe coding. Well, not exactly a time machine. What we're building is a small app where you can see the time in different cities across the world in different time zones relative to your current location. A world clock where you can essentially drag around and see what the time is in different cities. In this episode of the series, we will try to publish this app on the Play Store. So we will build this entire app purely through vibe coding or using AI agents, coding IDs like Cursor, Claude Code, and we will, with every episode, try to make some progress, and by the end of it, try to publish it on the Play Store. But purely through vibe coding. Today we're going to set up our superpowers, meaning we'll get the cursor IDE, we'll get the Claude Code, and we'll set up Flutter, which is what we'll be using to build this app. And we'll try to use the Figma MCP to just speed up our design process and developing the app. I know MCP sounds like a government agency, but trust me, it is way cooler. Well, let's build this time machine. Hey, I'm Shirish. I've been coding for about 8 years. I built my first AI project back in college, which was a question answering system. You would ask it a question, it will try to understand the intent of the question using basic natural language processing, and it would go and search on Wikipedia to get you some answers. Well, with all the insane progress that has been made in AI, especially with respect to LLMs, I've mostly been working with a lot of AI agents, building a lot of AI agents, and using coding AI agents to build AI agents. At that time, it used really rudimentary natural language processes and algorithms and methods to get you the answer, and it was not the best system out there, but it worked, right? Well, it would be surprising. I have actually not written a single piece of code for the last 6 to 8 months for all the agents and apps that I have built. Now, I don't know if that sounds good or bad, but the world hasn't crashed down yet. So I think we're doing good. All right. So here's the thing. I want to share all the tricks and all the stuff that I've learned through building some practical projects on YouTube. And because I believe there are so many creative people out there that would actually really benefit from getting into coding and trying to learn how to use these coding agents to build really, really amazing creative apps. Or these kind of YouTube videos will help you get into it if you have already tried a little bit of vibe coding, or if you haven't done it, if you don't know anything about it, maybe at least like these kind of videos will make you feel confident to get into it, right? So cool. Without wasting any more time, let's just get into it. All you need right now is a little bit of patience, lots of creativity, and a knack for good problem solving. And that's what is going to help us. And that's what basically programming is all about, if I'm being really honest. But, I think there is a lot of technical barrier with programming. And with the advent of coding agents and LLMs, I think the barrier of entry has just significantly gone down. And so I feel like there's going to be a new creative boom in applications, as to speak. So I would actually like to share this new cool app that I actually came across today on X or Twitter, which was built by David. It's basically a really cool Morse code app where you can actually press the physical buttons on your phone and it will encode a message in Morse code. Now, this is amazing. This is cool. This is what AI is all about, and this is what we should be doing, pushing ourselves creatively to do weird and cool things. And this is a perfect example. So kudos to David, and I'm gonna put the link to this tweet in the YouTube video description. All right, now let's get the engine running fresh off the boat. All right, so cool. What are we building today? We're building this gorgeously designed app, a world clock app. This is designed originally by Alexei. We took it apart and made a bit of a simpler version. Maybe we improve upon it in future, but the whole idea is that, well, whenever you have to schedule a meeting with your coworker across time zones, you go to Google and you convert the time zone, or you just ask ChatGPT. Well, we're gonna make it a little bit harder, but a little bit cooler. We're gonna build our own app, and the job of the app is basically just tell you the time in different cities, and all you have to do is you just have to drag this little bar here to select the time, and it'll automatically show the time here, right? So we took a problem that was easy and we just made it a little bit harder, but the whole point here is for us to basically learn how vibe coding works, how to use coding agents, and how to get good at it. All right, so what are the tools that we are going to use? First of all, we will be using Cursor as our primary coding agent, right? And there are a bunch of out there. There are also other full-blown, I guess, coding agents like Lovable and all. But I prefer tools that are like Hybrid, which is a text editor which has an integrated coding agent into it. A Cursor is a good example of it. The reason behind that is Cursor lets you take control of the steering wheel whenever you want. So it's not like a full Tesla FSD yet, but I guess in the coming years, I guess this is where the world is heading to. But still, this is the best we've got right now. The next tool we might rely from time to time is Claude Code. So this is one of my favorite coding agents, even compared to Claude Code, because at least in my personal opinion, for long-term planning and discussion, Claude Code kind of wins. Even when it comes to using Figma designs to convert into code, I think Claude Code does a significantly better job than Cursor. But all of this we are going to use within Cursor itself, right? So the first things first, what you will be doing right now is you will be downloading the Claude Code for macOS, and the installation is pretty simple. I have already installed it on my system, but you can go ahead and download this and just do next, and it should be installed pretty fine. All right. The next thing is what we're going to do is we go here to the extensions. Once you have your cursor set up, it should start looking something like this. And you go here to the extensions and we will search Claude Code and we will install. So we're going to go here in the extensions and we will install Claude Code. Okay. I have it already installed in my cursor, so it's not a problem. Cool. But I think at least for this video, what I'll do is I'll try my best to just stick to cursor through and throughout. Now I have the pro plan with cursor so that I can use as much as I want, but I think you should be able to make it work with the free plan, if I'm not wrong. And so the last and the most important piece of tool that we're going to be using is Flutter. Flutter is a framework to build front-end applications. It is based on a language developed by Google within Google called as Dart, and then they built a framework on top of it. Flutter is basically write your code once and it runs everywhere. It runs on your phone, it runs on your web, Chrome, Android, iOS, also on your fridge. Although if you do get it up running on your fridge and it fries your fridge, don't commit. Alright, the installing Flutter is also pretty straightforward. It is a bit technical, but you can actually use Claude to get you started and help you. So you can actually go to Claude Code and you can just say, hey, I need help with installing Flutter, and just explain me step by step what I have to do to install Flutter. And I will also try to make a small blog post out of it if possible and add it to the video notes under this video itself. All right, cool. Let's create our project here. So I'm assuming that we say have cursor installed and ready to go, and we have Flutter installed and ready to go. If you just want to check if Flutter is installed properly, what you can do is you can just write here Flutter Doctor. Now, if you have cursor installed and you have Flutter installed, you are ready to go. And just to confirm if Flutter is installed properly, what I can do is Flutter Doctor. I know this whole Flutter thing, if you're really new to programming, might seem a little bit daunting, but once you have it installed, it's pretty much job, right? It might ask you to install a lot of Android and iOS related stuff, but for now, let's only focus and build for web, and then maybe in future episodes, we might just add basically Android and iOS to it. Maybe I might even do a video of installing Flutter, but I feel like there is so much good videos and blog posts out there how to install it, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. That's going to be significantly different, but let's start with our project. So I'm going to actually create a new folder. All right, so I have created the WorldCroc directory here, and I'm going to take a moment to walk you through the interface of Cursor. On the left side, you've got a quick access toolbar. So this is your directory. This is where you'll see the source code of your project. Right now it's empty, which is okay. We're just gonna do the magic in a few moments. This is where you can search different piece of code, and then in the middle you will see all the source code that you're writing. So you can actually open files and see the source code. You can change a few things on your own. And on the right side, this is the chat window. Pretty similar, pretty standard to what you see in ChatGPT, what you see in Claude, or any other AI apps that you use. All right. Now, step number 1, we have to create a project. As I mentioned, we will be using Flutter framework, and you can use any other front-end framework whenever you want to build an app. So you can specify, oh, I want to use React, I want to use something else, but in this case, we're using Flutter. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually describe it, what I exactly wanted to do to create this project. So everything is set up for us and we don't have to worry about a lot of things. So first things first, I'm going to tell, hey, I'm creating a Flutter project for web, Android, and iOS. Remember, because I mentioned that this is a cross-platform framework, so makes sense that we mention all the platforms that we want to support with our application. You might have not installed the dependencies for Android and iOS. That's okay, but for now, we can still say that we want to do these, or we want to support these platforms and install the dependencies later. So, okay. Please create a Flutter project for web, Android, and iOS platforms. The project is a world clock system. Alright, so in simple words, we are not really going into too many details right now, but we're just explaining. The project is a world clock system where users can see the time zone in different cities of their choice. Now we're going to call it the Time Turner. If you're a Harry Potter fan, you should get this reference. If not, let's move along. Cool. We gave it the application name. We gave it a high level purpose of what this app is all about. But what we really expect as an outcome of this is for it to just set up the basic folder structure and maybe create a small documentation file called as a README file. We can iteratively then improve this whole workflow, but for now, let's just get it going. Alright, so it's going to be planning some of its moves, and we can actually look into it, what is actually doing here. Theoretically, what we wanted to do is we wanted to actually execute the Flutter framework command, which is responsible to create the project. So let's just say what it is doing. Run allow MCP tool. So it is actually running an MCP tool, and perhaps why it is doing that is something we can read through. Got it. I'll scaffold a Flutter app named Time Turner with web, Android, and iOS enabled. Perfect. Add a clean start world clock UI where users can remove and cities and see their logo. We don't want it to do all this kind of stuff, so we might, tell it, wait, we will tell what you want. Verified build runs via Flutter tooling. Perfect. First, I'm going to check what Flutter Dart tooling is available in your environment. Cool. Nice. There is dedicated create project tool available. Next, I'll read the tool schema instructions and then generate Flutter project. Next, I'll grant access to your workspace and then scaffold. So what right now it's doing is it is running an MCP tool, and I can guess it is trying to add a tool called user Dart. So it kind of like struggled here a little bit, but it corrected itself on its own, and which is fine. But what it ended up doing was it actually created the Flutter project create for the platform web, Android, iOS, and it gave it a name, right? So that is pretty perfect. You can actually see that the directory has been created and there is a bunch of code that is written already here, right? At a high level, if I have to explain what each of these directories really mean is, since I mentioned Flutter is one of those frameworks where you can write once and it runs everywhere, right? So all that universal code, you're going to write it here in the lib folder, and that's what primarily our agent will also be modifying. And if there is something that absolutely doesn't or absolutely requires you to write anything that is Android or iOS specific or web specific, that goes in these respective directories. But majority of the times, this is where we'll be operating, and that's amazing. So what I can see is because I actually give it some context that, hey, this is what our project and app is all about, it took upon itself to create some screens for us. And I can see there is a screen that it has created around city, and it has created different UI, the home screen, the main folder, and it has created some card UI, and it has also updated the dependency. And right now it's kind of analyzing, well, I just wrote all this code, let me analyze and see if there are any mistakes that I've made And that is good. It's kind of like self-correcting itself, and that's something that's absolutely great for us, right? So it now again try to run the analyze command and try to see if there are any other issues that were present or that occurred because of all this code that it generated. And none of that really happened, so that is amazing, right? So okay, now what it is telling us is, okay, you can actually run the project because it's ready for you to check it out. Now I can actually run all these commands, but what I would to do is I would actually like to go to this left hand side tool where it says run and debug. Just be able to click a button and then run it. And that's something actually possible within Cursor or within this editor itself, right? Now, first of all, before I do anything, I'm going to accept all these changes that it has made because I don't have any particular opinion as of now. We're just seeing what it has done so far. All right, so I'm going to say, can you create a launch? I can run this project in Chrome. So what I'm asking is, hey, can you just create a file, a small JSON file, which is nothing but which will have these commands to run it. Because of this file, this editor will automatically know, okay, if I have to run this particular app, this is how I do it, and it's going to show up here, right? So that's what we will ask it to do. All right, so let's see. Right, so what it ended up doing was it created a new directory called as .vs code. This is just a directory where you might want to have settings and configurations specific to the editor that you are using. We are using Cursor, which is based on top of .vs code. So whatever configurations we have will go into this directory. But then again, not a lot that we have to worry about here. Just knowing this fact that there are things like these that exist within the IDE is enough. And you can tell the Cursor agent in this case that, hey, I know there is something like this that exists. Would you mind doing it for me? And that's just perfect, right? So I'm going to say accept. And as you can see, it has created this directory and it has actually just written down the same command that it had for us, right? Run dart launch, right? So what we're going to do is when we go back here, right? Okay. So it ended up creating this configuration for us. And when we go here, we will see this configuration appear right here, and we can, if you click this play button, it's going to run the project. All right. Now, while this project runs, I will take some time to explain what kind of modes are available within Cursor, right? So the mode that we were just working with is called an agent mode, right? So with an agent mode, it automatically plans things for you, it searches things, it builds things, and it runs commands for you, it creates the project. And that's what it did for us when we asked it to create a project. It ended up checking whether we actually have these systems installed, whether we have the necessary tools installed, and then it planned, okay, what project we need, what kind of command I have to run for it, what kind of code I might have to set up for it. All of that it planned with the agent mode. If you don't want it to do stuff for you but just create a plan, you will use a plan mode, right? A debugging mode is when you have to fix something. There is something that's not working in your app, there is a bug, something is broken, you use this. And ask mode is just for you to ask questions about a code that you already have and you don't know what it is. It's a spaghetti, you don't understand it, and that's what you can use this mode for. For this video series, I think we will mostly stick with the agent mode, right? Now, coming back, let's just see what it has actually built up. And this is really surprising because it was able to actually build pretty decent interface that is actually quite similar to what we're planning to build, right? It has got these different cities. It has already figured out what kind of time this city has. It has already written the logic to display the time in the correct time zone. If I check, okay, Saturday, Jan 24th, the time is pretty much accurate, 1624. That makes sense to me. Right, so it has got the basics right, and that is fascinating. That is amazing. It already has set up the basic infrastructure that we need to get going, right? Imagine before the agents existed, you literally had to do all of this on your own, but this just puts you on a right track, right? Now, if you look at our interface that we are planning to build, that has a few components that are not present in our current system. And that's kind of like what we will be building next. What we'll do is we will actually use Cursor to make the current UI look exactly like this again without writing any piece of code. And for that, as I mentioned, we will be using something called as MCP, Model Context Protocol. Now, this is actually the most interesting part in this tutorial, right? This is actually the most interesting part of our exercise. MCPs have been actually a significant development in LLM. What it actually lets you do is when you're working with an LLM, it will only have access to the information that it is trained on and what you tell it. It will not understand your Figma designs because it doesn't have access to it. It will not understand your files. It will not understand your database. So it won't have access to the information that it cannot read. It can only use the information that you tell it or which it already is trained on. And this is the one difference that we're going to make that is going to actually boost our productivity here with the Figma designs. Is what we should be able to do is we should be able to share this Figma design with our cursor and tell it, hey, look at this design and can you just make this design the way it is? I know it sounds really easy, but it is easy as it sounds. On the contrary, usually how these things are. Well, actually, the other thing I would like to point out is the best way to describe MCP is what it is the way that it is been described on the official documentation, right? What they say is that think of MCP like a USB-C port, but for AI application, right? So you can actually use USB port is kind of like a standardized way to collect electronic devices, and similarly MCPs provide a standardized protocol to connect with different AI applications. So you can actually have your AI application, your AI interface. It could be Claude, it could be say Cursor in our case. So with this MCP protocol, Cursor Claude can access different tools in your system. It can check the file structure in your system. It can check actually whether you have Flutter installed, and that's how it actually worked right now. That it looked up whether we had Flutter installed. It looked up what kind of commands were available with Flutter, and then it executed the specific command that can be used to create a new project. Now that is amazing. That is insanely amazing, I would say. So same, we will just use the same logic and we will try to give it access to Figma and get the design from Figma and then basically improve this current design and make it more like Figma. Now, there is a catch here. Figma wants you to buy its pro version for you to access the Figma MCP protocol, right? So once you have the Figma installed, you can go here in the actions section and you can just check this option, enable desktop MCP server. And once you have that enabled, you will be able to actually copy this entire design and share it with Cursor so it can go through, follow along and design your entire project. All right, but this is it for this. I would say what we were able to do is we were able to kind of get our boots off the ground. We were able to set up Cursor, Flutter. We were able to essentially create a new Flutter project using Cursor and actually get something basic working, right? In the next episode, what we're going to do is we're going to actually install the MCP server for Figma with Cursor, verify that it is working, and then use that Figma MCP server to actually copy that Figma design, give it to Cursor, and then have it redesign this entire app to make it look like what it looks like in Figma. All right. So in short, we will in the next episode explore how to set up Figma, how to set up MCP for Figma, and how to use that within Cursor and how to get your designs looking really, really good. And we kind of keep doing and learning new things in each episode, and by the end of it, hopefully we will be able to publish our app on Apple Play Store or Apple App Store, Google Play Store. I'm sorry. The Apple overlords are going to sue me if I say it the wrong way. But I think this is going to be a fun journey, and I hope you join along this journey. And I'm really, really looking forward to meet more people who are really excited to build applications using coding agents. So definitely subscribe to the channel for the next episode. And there's going to be a link for our Discord in the YouTube video description. So do check it out. It's also going to be on the YouTube channel. join the Discord so you can share what you want to build, what you would like to build. And if you're actually struggling to build anything, or if you have an app that you're trying to build and you're struggling with it, just ask your question there and maybe I will be able to help you with it, and it's going to be fun either ways. So definitely subscribe to the channel. Wait for the next episode. I'm going to come with the next episode really, really soon, and have a good day. Bye.